Greetings everyone, Craig Hester here with R2AWatches.com and the Détente Watch Group. Today we are talking about the Radio Room from Vostok-Europe. Now, these two you're seeing here, we actually have covered in previous videos about the Radio Room watch, but they were grouped together with several other styles. In fact, there are a lot of videos out there now about the Radio Room. The watch has been around since 2012 when the first executions came out, and there have been, more than 10 color executions of the Radio Room since then. Today we wanted to focus on these two for a number of reasons. First of all, they are among the last two that are available from the previous set of Radio Room watches that just came out about a year and a half ago or so, maybe even 2 years at this point. Second of all, the fact that these are the only two available right now that have the fully luminous dial. That means the white area you see here on the dial is fully luminous and is going to really split the dark and light up the night. It's all Superlumina, Swiss Superluminova, easy for me to say, on there, and you're going to see that is a really makes for a really bright watch. Now I'm going to get into the backstory of the Radio Room and why it's called that and what that is all about, but I'm going to do that later in the video. I want to start out by going over the specifications for this watch and the actual features of it. First of all, this is a 46 millimeter timepiece. It is about 14 or 15 millimeters thick. At 46 millimeters, by today's standards, I put that as like a Goldilocks size. It's a very comfortable size, especially with the curvature on this. It sits on the wrist really well. It's not too big. I mean, there are guys I know who won't wear more than, say, a 42 or a 44, but it's not one of those really big monster watches of today, but it is big enough for somebody who likes to wear larger watches. The core aspect of this, let's start with the movement. This is the 2426 movement by Vostok. That is Vostok of Chistopol, Russia. That is a different company from Vostok-Europe. They did make the movement in this. It is a 32 joule automatic mechanical movement in this watch, which means, of course, if you wear it on a regular basis, you shouldn't have to wind it, and you can put it on a winder. And it's important to note that Vostok movements are bidirectional, which means they will wind both ways that the rotor moves. And we recommend, if you put them on a winder, that you do, and it's programmable, you have it go in both directions, which is better for the wear of the bearings on the rotor. And the rotor is that part you see back there decorated with Vostok-Europe. That's counterweighted so that as you move your wrist, it will wind the watch. Okay, so it is a 32 joule dual time movement. Now I like to point out this is a 200 meter water resistant timepiece. Now that does put it in the professional grade category of water resistance, but it's important to note that this does not have an elapsed time unidirectional rotating bezel. So because of that, it is not a true dive watch, but it's a sign of the caliber of construction that this watch can pass the 200 meter water resistance test. Also like to point out that this is a very low limited edition on these, no more than 500 made. And you can see there at the bottom where the limited edition number is. This happens to be number 138 out of 500. It is surgical grade stainless steel. That helps with allergy and also with longevity and caliber of construction as well. Okay, the dual time movement. You'll notice on this watch, and I'm just going to kind of switch back and forth between the purple. This is the purple execution. We did that because people kept asking us, we want a purple Vostok-Europe. So we did this one with the purple execution. So we would be answering those folks who've been longing for one. So this is your chance to have, and believe me, it is your one and only chance. Vostok-Europe will probably never do another purple watch. This was a one-time deal for us. And then this beautiful light blue on this one. Okay, the dual time movement. I keep interrupting myself. Okay, so you see that this watch has 4 hands on it, not 3 like a typical watch has with the hour, the minute, and a sweep second. It also has this other hand. This hand's purpose is to give you a secondary time zone. Now, I want to point out, it's important to note that that is not set independently by the position on the crown. It is slave to the other 12-hour position on the watch, and that means it's going to be showing, in terms of local time, it's going to be showing the current time. So as example, this watch is currently at 10:15 a.m. And you can see that on the 24-hour hand here, it's a little past 10. So it's giving you the same as the local time. The way you get the secondary time zone is rather ingenious, is you rotate this external rotating bezel. And it's important to point out that the secondary time zone on this watch is in the 24-hour scale. It is in the military scale. That means that you're not going to be doing regular 12-hour timekeeping with this. It's going to be the military scale. So I moved it to 7 hours ahead at the 24 position, because that happens to be how many hours ahead Vilnius, Lithuania is from here. So what you're looking at here is you see that the local time is still showing 10:20-ish, 10:15, a little bit past 10:15 here, okay? The 24-hour hand is now just past the 1700 mark. So that means that if it is 10:18 here, it is 5:18 if you're using regular time, or it is 17:18 on the 24-hour scale in Vilnius. So that's how you use the dual time function on this watch. And it is a unidirectional bezel, so if you go past the time you want, you're going to have to go all the way back around, and then you're going to lock it in, and it stays very solidly in the position that you want it in. So now you know what the time is in Vilnius, or whatever other time zone you're interested in. Obviously, I'll giving you one every hour option for the 24-hour scale. Everything in this watch is in Cyrillic. We decided to do that just because it is of the history of the Vostok movement and what it is all about with the radio room. It is a K1 mineral crystal, K1 being 7 on the Mohs scale, sapphire being 9, regular mineral being 5. That means the K1 puts you right in the middle, and that gives you nearly the scratch resistancy of sapphire and nearly the shatter resistancy of mineral, which is excellent for a sport watch like this. Screw-in crown. This particular execution has the really supple silicone strap on it, which is really great. Look how easily that is. It's so soft, which is really great for using in water conditions. The screw-in case back, the exhibition case back, so you can see that beautifully decorated, and you can see on there it says Russia, the beautifully decorated 32 jewel Vostok movement. Now, why is it called the radio room? Okay, well, we go back to the Titanic disaster. When the Titanic went down, there were a number of things, of course, it's probably easier to list the things that didn't go wrong than the things that did, that caused the Titanic, I can't say that word today, the Titanic disaster. But one of the things that contributed to the loss of life after the ship went down, or after the ship hit the iceberg, was the inability of the folks in the radio room to get out with their SOS due to the chatter on the radio. And because of that, the International Maritime Commission in 1912 created the International Radio Room Act of 1912. And what they did a number of things. It added a 24-hour rotation to all radio rooms on seagoing vessels. But one of the things it added were these radio silence periods, which you see at the top and bottom of the hour and at the 15 and 45 mark. These wedges represent a period where you can't have any radio traffic that isn't emergency flash traffic. You can't just go on and say, hey, Joe, let's meet in port for a beer. We're going to be in a couple hours. You have to go to radio silence during these periods. And over here, you can actually see this is an original radio room clock built by the Vostok Company of Chistopol, Russia, which is the inspiration for the watch. So in these radio silence periods, it has to be emergency flash traffic. Where you see the dashed type looking here, that only allows for Morse code, and then in the solid wedges you can actually talk. So why do we do this in a Vostok-Europe watch, and what's the connection here and so forth? Well, again, as I pointed out about the clock back here, that's made by the Vostok Company of Chistopol, Russia, and they still make naval vessel clocks to this day with the radio room indications on them that are used in Russian naval vessels and actually other ships around the world. And so that's why we were insistent on the movement in this watch is a Vostok movement from the Vostok Company of Chistopol, Russia. But what Vostok-Europe has done with the radio room here is to create kind of a new look, a you could argue the fashion forward phrase gets used here. It's not just your typical traditional radio room watch, like the earlier Vostok watches that were made. It does have a different look, a different feel. It is dual time. And in this case, two very striking colors in the light blue and the purple. So there's an overview of two of the most popular colors and latest executions of the Vostok-Europe Radio Room, the A270 and the A271. I'm Craig Hester with R2AWatches.com and the Détente Watch Group. Keep watching.